Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to the very first hybrid motovlog / photography tutorial thing. I have been wanting to do something like this for a very long time, and I just haven't had the guts to do it. And originally I was thinking, well, I'm just gonna hang out in my motorcycle helmet the whole time and talk to you, because that way there's something interesting. You can see the road, you can see what I'm doing. Wow, squirrels and birds everywhere. I'm gonna run over one at some point and die. It's kind of hard to ride and talk at the same time too, but this is the idea that I have. So I'm gonna push myself in both my photography and videography skills, as well as audio and storytelling skills. The idea is get up in the morning super early. Ugh, wow, that was bumpy. Ugh. I'm then gonna get on my motorcycle and explain where we're going and what we're doing for that day. And for now, it's gonna be centered around photography. Each video is gonna have a different theme in photography that I will work on and show. We'll then, after we shoot, hop back on the bike, go back home, and then I will edit the photos and show you my process. So it's basically kind of a motovlog meets tutorial thing. Ooh, hold on. Oh, nice, dude. Anyway, but even when I'm at a stoplight, if I have any sort of like worry that somebody has their window down and I'm talking to you guys, I get real nervous. Then again, I watch all these people online who do the same thing, and they don't care at all, because you can't be concerned about that, you know? You just can't. And the reason is, you'll never get anything done, because there are people everywhere. And I grew up in a place where there aren't very many people. I had, you know, the blessing of being raised on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Literally, my nearest neighbor was a mile away, and I could do anything. And I didn't realize that privilege growing up. So now that I'm here in the city, I've just clammed up. I haven't been able to pursue my creativity because of this fear of caring about what people think of me, and I know I shouldn't. This series, this channel, this whole idea is for me to grow up, to not care what people think, to find my confidence. And because I'm sharing what I know and what I'm learning with photography and video and whatever, I'm also then embedding that knowledge into my lifestyle, because I'm not only learning it and I'm not only implementing it, but I am teaching it and regurgitating it. And that's really, I think, what's going to embed that in me. And I've just been consuming content constantly, just consuming. And I'm not putting out my content. I keep pushing it back, saying, oh, if only I was a little bit better at explaining things, or if only I knew every ins and out of photography. It's one of those things where you constantly learn throughout your life. You never ever arrive, if that makes sense. Like, you'll never be at a point where you can't learn anymore, or can't grow anymore. There's always someone better. So that's kind of the thought process behind these videos. So today I'm going to a place that's really special to me, since this is kind of the mark of a beginning of a new series and endeavor of mine, that I would go back to a place that means new beginnings for me as well. And I'll explain more when I get there. It's pretty awesome. Okay, I have no idea where I'm at now, because apparently I can't navigate and talk at the same time. My brain just kind of shuts down. So I'm gonna montage myself to the location. See you in a bit. Woo! Onto the freeway! Okay, so I got here to the location and I got really excited, so I went ahead and set up the camera and started shooting, and I forgot to show what I did. So I'm gonna explain it now. So you can see, I've got it set on the ground here. Now this lens I have is a 55mm, so it's not gonna look quite as amazing as this. Like, I really need a wide angle lens to capture this whole scene. So this time lapse is more like gonna be kind of like this. With the Sony A7iii, I can set an interval function automatically. As you can see it working away here. And then I threw on my lens hood to kind of minimize any light bleed to kind of keep more contrast. Since I'm already facing into the sun, I don't want it to wash out even more. So I have my lens hood on there. And then I threw on a 10-stop ND filter so that I can get a whole 1 second exposure time. Even though it's really bright, I can get that full second because I'm doing 2-second intervals. That way I can keep the 180-degree shutter rule. I'm gonna shoot 480 pictures. You can see there, it's at 176 of 480, so that'll give me at 24 frames a second, 20 seconds of a time lapse. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So the reason I wanted to bring you guys here, and I'm gonna be fighting traffic, but it's because this place is really special to me. It holds a special place in my heart. Kind of marks an era of new beginnings for me. This is the first place I ever really took my now wife, Adelina, on a date. It kind of marked a new beginning, a new stage in my life of a long-term relationship. And so I figured it'd be fitting to come back here to do my first little shoot. Decided to do a time lapse because it's kind of marking another new, like, I guess, expedition in my life. So that's what I wanted to bring here. It's pretty amazing. But now I'm gonna gear back up and go home to edit this thing. All right, we did it. That's a huge accomplishment for me. Oh my gosh. I was so nervous, you could probably tell. I hope it made sense. I was so nervous that I don't think I did a good job explaining what I was doing, so I may have to re-explain when I get home. So now I'm gonna go meet my wife, and then we're gonna go home, and we're gonna edit this. So I'll see you in a bit. Edit time. First thing I always do, I will switch my profile from Adobe Color to Landscape. You can see that is really hazy and it really layers these mountains, which is beautiful. So I don't want to crank down on contrast so much that I lose that. I'm gonna go ahead and lift the shadows. And that's really gonna bring up all those dark areas. So I usually get it to where I think it's cool and then I back it off just a smidge. Same with my highlights. I usually bring those down. And essentially what I've done is I've decreased contrast a lot. In fact, let's go ahead and try increasing contrast now because we took some away. I wanna put a little bit back, just a smidgy. Next thing I like to do is check my whites, and I like to push them all the way to the right until I see the little clip indication on my histogram here. If you don't see your histogram, you can go to View, Edit Panels, Histogram. So I'm gonna push the whites up until I see it clip, and then I'm gonna back it off a smidge. Cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the color tab. I like to push my vibrance up and kind of find a middle ground that I think looks nice, but not unnatural. 60 might be a little bit hot, so just to be safe, keep it a little more natural, I'll back it down to 50 in this case. I'm really liking where it's at. I might boost saturation just a smidge, but honestly, it probably doesn't need it. We'll do a before and an after, and I really like this. Then I go into effects. So texture, it may look really good, super cranked up, but it can overpower your image. Once I get it where I think I like it, I'll back it off a little. Same with clarity, just make sure that when they're off and when they're on, they're not too pronounced. And I'm just gonna adjust the sharpness until those edges look nice, but I don't want it to be too crunchy. Cool, always want to apply a mask. You can just hold Alt or Option on the Mac, drag the slider over until all you see is outlines on the detail that you want to remain sharpened. Holy moly, that's already so much better. I want to play around with any secondary color options that I might want to mess with. The first thing I typically do is hop into blues. I might shift it to the left just a teeny bit, and if I turn color mixer off and then back on, it kind of just makes the sky a little more cyan-y, and I find that really nice. A lot of times bringing the luminance down in the blues makes the sky look really nice, but I don't want to go too far. And then once I get it to where I think I like it, I'll back it off a little bit. Before, after, and I just select the image and hit Control-C or Command-C. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll to the end, hold Shift, click the last one to select all the images, and then use Shift Command or Shift Control V to paste. Then it's gonna pop up and say, oh, you have this many photos that are gonna be affected, and you just say yes. Overall, I'm super excited with these. So
Now I'm gonna export and Shift Control or Shift Command E. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at JPEG, and I wanna leave it at full size to get the full resolution, and the quality definitely at 100 because we're using this again in After Effects. So then you hit export 480 photos or however many you took. So I'm gonna open up this folder, hit select. So by the magic of editing once again, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I'm here in After Effects, and usually I just do a simple Ken Burns effect. I've already created a composition, and if I go to the composition settings, I have it in 4K because uploading to YouTube in 4K actually makes the end result a lot better on YouTube. If you upload 1080p, it compresses it weird. And I'm gonna import my image sequence. And all I have to do is select the first image, and it'll automatically have import JPEG sequence selected. So all I have to do is hit import. Now, before I drag this JPEG sequence into the timeline, I'm gonna right click it and go to interpret footage and go to main. And I'm gonna change the assumed frame rate from 30 seconds to 24 seconds. That way I can get more time out of my time lapse so it plays back slower. So I'm gonna hit okay, and then I'll drag that into my composition. It's overscaled because these images are 24 megapixels, which is much bigger than 4K. So if I hit S to reveal the size properties and punch in 64, I know that already just because of my specific camera, it's 24 megapixels. And that's gonna bring the image to the size of my canvas. Now, because the canvas is a 16:9 aspect ratio, I actually can reframe on the y-axis up and down here. So I might try to line up the virtual horizon here. I'm assuming the horizon is gonna be kind of like this because these are all mountains. I'm gonna put that on the lower third of the frame. It's kind of a good rule of thumb to start at. And I'm just gonna RAM preview this so we can see what our time lapse looks like. Sweet, so it's looking really cool. I'm really digging this one. And I like to think about, what do I want this to be? Am I focusing on something in the image like these silos, or is it the overall scene that's most important? And to me, whatever is most important, I kind of want to reveal at the end. So I'm gonna go to S for scale and put a keyframe on that, and then P for position, put a keyframe on that. I'm gonna go to the very beginning, go ahead and put this where I think it'll be most interesting in the beginning of the frame. I really like the reds in these mountains, and you can see the sun kind of hitting them, and then these silos too. So I'm gonna take the scale up to 100% because I wanna be able to see the full resolution of this image. And I'm just gonna shift the position until I get a new frame that's just as beautiful as the other one. I dig that. So now, we play between them. Nice. Yeah, I like this. But that is that. You can go ahead and export that. I go to composition, add to Adobe Media Encoder queue because it has more render options. Cool, so just real quick, I'm gonna go to H.264. I'm gonna click on the match source high bitrate option so that I can actually change the render options. And then I just wanna make sure that the bitrate is set to CBR instead of VBR, which means constant bitrate versus variable bitrate. So I can click on this, hit constant bitrate, and I want to set this to 100 megabits per second. Now that's going to be a fairly big video size, especially for being 20 seconds long, but it's going to maintain a lot of the image quality. And when you upload it to YouTube, it won't seem like the compression affects it so negatively. So just press OK, and then you can upload your video and become famous. You guys are still here, even after I've gone and edited all of that? You're crazy. I just want to say thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully you enjoyed that and learned something, if not about photography, maybe a little bit about me. This video was an experiment for me. It's kind of rough. It's the first time I've ever filmed myself. I'm really nervous to put this out, but I'm trying to let go of my perfectionism and just put out content and to learn and grow from it. Catch you guys soon. Peace.